I don't think a gift basket is going to get us out of this one. I may have to offer myself.
I mean, at least she's trying to figure out a way to remedy this situation. I mean, it's extreme.
By offering herself.
It's an extreme measure, but
The most extreme measure you could ever think of.
yes, but
She's desperate for a good review.
yeah. And welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back to another episode of A Fine Podcast.
Yes, with your hosts.
Amanda and Joseph.
Yes, we're diving into season 1, episode 18 this week.
Sunday in the park with Fran.
Yes. Is it a fun day? Is it a terrible day?
Tune in to find out. So in this episode, Fran has an altercation with the theater critic's son, Frank Jr.
Gracie has to be friends with Frank for a day in the park.
So kicking it off in this first scene, we're in Maxwell's office and Cece and Max are talking about their big opening night for their big play that's coming out tomorrow. And they are sold out. And why are they sold out? Because Fran's family is taking up most of the theater. They needed them for number boosting.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, I guess they don't say exactly the size of Fran's family, but
We already know from previous stories it should be very large.
I mean, well, I guess it depends on the size of the theater, but I think an average theater would hold a couple hundred people, so.
Couple hundred fines.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So,
It's a lot.
yeah.
So not only do they need seat number boosters to prove that they have a sold out show, that's how popular they are, they also need really good critic reviews. So they're quite concerned about this. And Cece was so concerned that she decided to send gift baskets to all the critics in town. And then Max asks, "Are you bribing people?" As if first he's ashamed. And then he's quite proud of her for bribing everybody. Great idea, Cece. Great one. Good
Yes.
thinking.
I don't know. Maybe this shows he doesn't have a whole lot of confidence in his own show if he needs to
Use bribing.
endeavor down this route to have good reviews. So
I think he was just impressed that Cece went the extra mile to make sure people are on their side.
yeah, I mean, I would find this like directly typical of Cece to do.
Yes. So Fran says her family's very excited about opening night and all of the fancy food that they're about to eat. She starts to list out all of their orders and what they want to eat and all their accommodations and dietary restrictions and everything. And Cece says she isn't feeding them. So Cece says if your relatives won't come to our play without a feed bag, she'd be happy to give their tickets away to people on the street.
Yeah, which Niles mentions, I'll drop you off at your usual corner.
His first burn.
Yes. Already jumping in, just like every other episode.
Cece's street corner.
Yes.
So Max says, "Miss Fine, I can assure you your relatives are going to love the play. It's a brilliant postmodern exploration of despair." And Fran says there's no food and there's despair. Sounds like my Weight Watchers meeting. So in this next scene, Niles is packing a picnic lunch for Fran and Grace to take to the park. And Cece comes in and asks Niles to make something for Chester, her dog. And then Niles comes in and says, "Poof, you are a Doberman, attack,"
Yeah.
which is his second burn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, this one was
Weird.
at least a little more just fun playing versus serious. So.
I thought it was weird.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's like a lot more lighthearted and friendly than compared to some of these other ones that he has that are pretty
Terrible.
bad. So
So then Gracie asks, why does the dog like Fran more than Cece? And then Niles says, well, he is a male.
yeah, I mean, that's a little more of the harsh ones we're used to. So take a light one and then
Then a really
flip
harsh
it back to what he's normally used to. So
So Cece says to Niles, what is this basket doing here? It's supposed to go out to Frank Bradley, the critic. And Niles says, oh, it did go out, but he sent it back. And he sent it back with a snide note saying he couldn't be bought. And if he could, he would cost more than a tin of smoked oysters.
Yeah. Gonna need a lot more moolah than that to get his vote.
So he definitely saw through the bribery.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, I would hope most of the critics would see that, but this guy apparently is the only ethical critic
But
out
he was
there.
mean too.
Yeah, but at least he was ethical. I'd rather have.
Would you ever send a gift basket back that someone got you and
Right.
write a snide note on it?
I don't know if they're trying to bribe me with something. Then maybe.
Wow. A side of you I've never seen before.
I don't know. I mean, I would like to think so.
So Cece said there has to be some way to get Frank Bradley on their side. And Gracie says, oh, I know a Frank Bradley. He's in my arts and crafts class. And Cece said, maybe that's his son. And she gets really excited. And Gracie said, he said my ashtray was derivative. And Cece said, yep, that's definitely his son.
Yeah.
Cece says to Gracie, why don't you invite him to the park? You guys could have a lot of fun together. And Gracie says, no, he's a big bully to me, and she does not like him. And Cece then takes matter into her own hands. She doesn't care. She calls up Frank Bradley to arrange the play date herself. And then she's all sucking up on the phone, and Fran goes, boy, can that woman suck up. And then Niles comes in with another burn, and he says, if she came with attachments, we could throw out the Hoover.
Yeah, she really likes to suck up. So
Cece thinks that Max will agree with her about this play date, and Fran says, no way, I'm going to tell Maxwell first that Gracie's getting bullied by this guy, and this will not happen this date. And then Cece and Fran race each other to Maxwell's office, and Fran makes it first to talk to Maxwell. Then Fran asks Max, back me up on being the one who can make decisions about the children. And then she lets Cece in. And then Cece said, well, the play date that we're trying to arrange, it's the theater critic's son. Because first Max was getting ready to back Fran up. Then he heard that.
yeah, which makes him reassess his original thought.
Yeah. He said, well, actually, Grace should try it. Because she should try to get along with all types of people.
Yes, it's a good social experiment.
So in this next scene, Fran is hosting a play date for Frank Jr. and Gracie at the park. And Frank Jr. comes in and he's shooting a gun at birds. What type of gun?
Well, yeah, like a Nerf gun.
We can already tell he's picking on things. So Frank is on top of Gracie, pulling her hair, and he won't get off of her. We're seeing this bullying happening that Gracie warned everybody about. And then this is when Fran takes the only thing she can find, which is a loaf of bread, and taps Frank with it to get him off of Gracie. Which, what happens next?
Yeah, so then Frank Jr. screams in agony that he's been hit, and
She hit me.
yeah, and that he knows about Max having this play and that his dad's going to be the critic of it, and so he will use this against her and have his dad give a bad review of the show. So
Terrible. He's
she
pretty
is
smart.
now in a pickle.
Yeah. So he's said he's going to tank Maxwell's play through his dad's review. You just wait and see.
Yeah.
So in this next scene, Fran comes back from the park and Max asks how it went with Frank Jr. And Fran says, well, they broke bread together. Because she literally broke the piece of bread, slapping Frank Jr.
Yeah, but I didn't actually see it break, though. You know, when you see it hit.
Maybe like a crumb fell off and they broke bread.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. That's where
It was not hard enough to break the loaf of bread in half or anything.
Yeah.
Max says, okay, well, thank goodness, because a lot is riding on this review here from his father. And then the telephone rings and Frank Sr. is calling, and he is very, very upset. And he's telling Maxwell all about how upset he is with how this play date went today.
Yeah. Fran kind of plays it off, and then she knows who it is or assumes who's calling, and she tries to go back upstairs, probably to try to hide from the whole situation, but Max grabs her shirt and
Pulls her back.
yeah, and saying, "No, you will listen to the end of this before I have my judgment on you." And
This is when he asks her, "Did you strike a child?"
yes, because I'm sure Frankie Jr. probably elaborated to his father in a very
Crazy way
yeah,
of how things went down.
right.
So Cece comes in panicked, and Max tells Cece that Fran hit Frank Jr. with a baguette. And Max is mad, Cece's mad. And then Max tries to remedy the situation by saying he will invite over the critic and his son for a big apology from Fran in person. Even though Fran says the kid deserved it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good.
No, so she says, even though he deserved it, I'm going to be the one to beg and grovel and completely debase myself. And this is where Niles comes in with another burn for Cece and says, Miss Babcock will show you how it's done.
Oh, yeah. Since she is quite familiar with doing that, as we saw earlier in the episode, she already knows how to do it. So
With the gift baskets, which she mentions again, and she says, I don't think a gift basket is going to get us out of this one. I may have to offer myself. And then Niles can't resist here, and he says, might as well close the play now.
yeah, I mean, this was just kind of a T-ball setup for Niles. So, but once again, it's Cece. I mean, at least she's trying to figure out a way to remedy this situation. I mean, it's a extreme.
By offering herself.
It's an extreme measure, but
The most extreme measure you could ever think of.
yes, but
She's desperate for a good review.
yeah.
So Niles is preparing a whole meal for the special occasion of the two gentlemen, Frank Sr. and Frank Jr., coming over for the big apology. And then they come walking through the door, and Max says, hey, I feel terrible about this whole thing. And then Frank Sr. says, really? I thought you'd be used to disasters by now. You certainly have produced enough of them, which that wasn't very nice at all.
Yeah.
So Max ignores this and then shakes hands with Frank Jr. and says, well, it's nice to meet you, young man. And then Frank Jr. says, your hands are sweaty. Are you nervous? Intimidating Maxwell.
Yeah.
And then Maxwell says, what a charming little snot. Tot.
Yes. A slip of the tongue there.
So this is when Max forces Fran to apologize, which she kind of gives like a half-hearted apology. And then Frank says, well, yeah, great apology, but it actually needs some work.
Yeah, well, because it's like a very passive-aggressive apology. It's not.
It's
so
pretty
much of
bad.
one. Yeah.
She says, Mr. Bradley, things might have gotten a little out of hand at the park. And whose ever fault it was, not mine. I suppose I would be sorry. That's her whole apology.
Yeah, which is not genuine at all.
So Frank's right.
Yes.
And then Fran is dying to get out of the situation. She doesn't care about it at all. And then Chester comes running in and she says, well, what do you know? I need to go let that dog out for a walk. And then Frank Jr. comes in and says, that dog's ugly. He has beady little eyes and a pointy little nose. And it looks like her. And then he points to Cece.
Even the little kid is
sad. Mean.
Yeah.
And then Niles comes in and says, they're from the same litter.
Yeah, so now it's kind of getting a double whammy from everyone at this point. So
have you noticed that? Like a lot of the times, like one person will say something, then another person will build off of it. Another person will build off of it.
Yeah.
Until Cece's just like pounded into the ground with insults.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
I think we're ready to go over the burns of Niles and Cece.
Yes, we've actually come to the conclusion of them, even though it's not towards the end. But regardless, we are here.
Is this heaven or is this hell? Maybe sometimes both as well. Naughty nights and sassy.
Niles burn number 1.
I'll drop you off at your usual corner.
Burn number 2. Poof, you're a Doberman. Attack. Burn number 3.
He is a male. Number 4.
If she came with attachments, we could throw out the Hoover. Number 5.
Miss Babcock will show you how it's done. Number 6.
Might as well close the play now. Number 7.
They're from the same litter.
7 for Niles.
Yes, we've come to the conclusion of
The Burns.
of Niles and not Cece.
Not Cece.
Yeah.
So then it's time to taste Niles' finger sandwiches, and Frank Jr. says, "Ew, what idiot made these?" And Niles said, "I did. And they came from a real little boy." And he scares Frank Jr. to death with this statement.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, it should have been Niles to take if Gracie and Frank to the park, because he would have been able to. He knows how to put him in his place. So.
That's true. That's true.
Fran resulted in the bread violence. Well,
Bread violence.
Niles just knew what to say.
Have you ever hit anyone with a loaf of bread or a baguette?
I mean, I've used it as like a sword before. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a French baguette, a long and slender loaf of bread. Yeah.
Have you ever broke bread with anyone?
By hitting them? No.
Yeah, by hitting them.
No, I've not done that.
So Fran says, "Oh, yes, a finger sandwich. How about you, Mr. Bradley? A man like you deserves a good finger every now and then." Which I thought that was like the boldest thing she could have said at that moment to the critic.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point she's like so checked out, and she just doesn't want to even entertain the idea anymore. So she just will say whatever at this point.
So then she's still holding Chester, and Frank says, "Keep this beast out of my eyes." And Chester it looks like Chester like growls at him and like goes to like bite. And then he says, "He bit me. He should be put to sleep." And Cece says, "No problem."
I mean, she does not have much affection for the dog, so.
Terrible.
I mean, I'm surprised that she's kept it this long, but.
Yeah, Frank says, "This is a menace to society. Put it to sleep." And she's like, "All right, thank you. Whatever gets my play reviewed, great."
Yeah.
That's horrible. Sorry, Chester. That's awful. And then Fran says, "Hey, listen, nobody is going to be touching this dog." So Fran sticks up for Chester, which is nice. So Frank tells Max to muzzle the dog and muzzle the nanny to avoid a big lawsuit from him. And then this is where we see Max stand up to defend Fran. He puts aside that his whole play could be ruined because of this man's review and decides that it's more important to care for Fran.
Yeah, which is very nice of him. And clearly it shows some level of affection here. So he realizes that there's more important things than a good review on your play, if it means maybe sacrificing some of your morals. So,
Which is nice.
yeah.
So he says, "Miss Fine, she was right from the beginning. I should have never forced my little girl to play with your son. Quite clearly, he deserved everything he got. And I don't care what you think about my play, and frankly, I don't care much for you either. Now, let me show you the door." So he tells him off. And then Frank leaves, only after stuffing a giant finger sandwich in his mouth to make a point,
Yes.
which will come back to bite him later. So as they're watching the TV, waiting for the reviews, this is when it's announced that Frank Bradley is out and he can't give any reviews about this play because he has food poisoning.
Yes, which then Max kind of puts 2 and 2 together and realizes his refrigerator was out and he fed a bunch of food to him. Not a bunch of food, but he just fed some food to him. And then Niles also chimes in saying, "Oops, that darn refrigerator."
So Niles purposely used spoiled food for the Frank Sr. interaction, saving everybody.
But yes, it was all really Niles. Niles was the big schemer here. He was kind of the evil genius to this whole thing.
Niles came in and saved the day
Yes.
by poisoning someone. So instead of Frank, it's Fran, because the theater, the people who are filming, are going out to the public for an honest review, and they run into her. And then Fran is on the TV giving her opinion. She says it's 2 thumbs up and raving reviews, which saves Max and Cece and makes them look really good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't totally understand. This was like weird to me.
They
'cause-
couldn't have an official critic, so they got a bystander outside.
Yeah, but then you do also have the reference where they made a bunch of baskets that they sent out to all the other critics. So what the heck happened to them? Are they all...
I guess Frank was like the main critic that they were looking to hear from.
Yeah, I guess. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Maybe the others are just writing in the newspaper, but he was going to cover it live on TV. I don't know.
Yeah. You'd think like, oh, well, let's go check one of the other critics then, or let's have one of them interview.
I would think that they would have had someone fill in for the TV spot
Sure.
for
yeah,
sure. That
right.
doesn't really make sense. But
I
maybe
figured.
it was like such a close call. He was going to do it until the last possible second or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he was hoping that he'd feel well enough to show up to the thing or something, but
They should have a critic on standby, though.
or maybe he just wanted to show up to say, I've been food poisoned by these people.
Yeah. Show up with your bucket
Yeah. You're
and
pale.
throwing up.
Yeah.
Look what they did to me.
Yeah.
This is how I feel about their play. Blah.
Right.
So Max and Cece are cheering. Max is just so thrilled about this review from Fran. And he turns around, thanks Fran for the review. And then he gives her a big kiss on the mouth.
Yeah. I mean, this was quite unexpected. I don't think no one anticipated this. And then Cece's in the background just kind of
Mad.
realizing what's happening. So, yeah.
Fran looks shocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dapper daddy.
But yeah, this is definitely this is a pinnacle moment for this. So yes.
He wouldn't give a kiss to just anybody.
Yes. Only those that bring the most debacle moments.
So in this next scene, we see a repairman and he's coming in to help fix the fridge. And we learn that this is Dan Aykroyd as a guest star.
Yes.
And he was in the Ghostbusters 1984 movie.
You know, he says the name of the company, which is Frostbusters.
Everybody's like, woo, woo, like Ghostbusters.
Yeah. But anyway, so yes, he's a repairman to finally fix the fridge.
So I didn't know this because I've never seen Ghostbusters, so I had to look that up. Have you seen it?
Of course.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I know the theme song and everything that everybody talks about, but I actually haven't seen the movie.
Wow.
So
Yeah. You're only late by 40 get on 40 years at this point.
yeah, I should have watched it before I was born.
Yeah.
So he also has his butt crack showing when he goes to fix a fridge, and everybody thinks that that's pretty funny. So
Yeah, that typical plumber.
So in the credits, we see Dan Aykroyd in the audience of the people watching The Nanny.
Yeah, because like the live studio, they actually had a live studio audience. So then, right as he leaves the house, he comes right back, and they have like a big extra applause for him. So,
Right.
And yeah, he enjoys that he's on the show.
And with that, I think we're ready for our recap.
Yes, let's go to recap.
Let's put this all together. These moments are forever.
Max and Cece have a big play opening.
They have a big play opening. Yes, they do. We're gonna sell these tickets out to all our Fran fine friends, and max them out.
And max them out. Maxwell Sheffield them out.
Yes, but no food.
Cece arranges a play date between the play critic's son and Gracie,
You're gonna be friends with him, and you're gonna like him.
even though he bullies you.
Yes, you will learn to accept it.
Frank Jr. turns out to be a jerk.
Yes, he attacks Gracie physically.
Fran hits Frank Jr. with a baguette.
Gracie has been struck by Frank, and Frank has been struck by Fran.
Max invites him and his father over for a big apology.
Time to apologize for your assault with the baguette, Fran.
Fran and Frank. Fran and Frank. Fran and Frank. Fran.
What's the difference between Fran and Frank?
A K.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Frank Jr. and Frank Sr.?
Their titles. This would be like the trending thing with what's the difference between Fran and Frank? Look at your keyboard and look at the letters between J and L.
Wow.
Yeah, let's catch on to that trend.
Yeah, let's catch on. Let's catch on to that. Both Franks are jerks.
Like father, like son.
Max takes a stand for Fran.
He finally takes charge to he's had enough.
It's opening play night.
My knees are weak and my arms are palmy. Sweating.
Sweating.
Sweating like crazy.
Sweating like crazy. And Frank gets food poisoning.
Was it on purpose? Was it by accident? We'll never know.
Evil Niles.
Only Niles knows that question.
Instead, Fran gives the review.
Oh, Fran just happens to be a critic all of a sudden. Let me just give it 2 thumbs up.
Imagine she rated it low.
Yeah.
She'd be fired.
Yeah, but would I expect them to be like, what would you rate this out of a number? Or
Just 2 thumbs up, that's it.
Normal like Rotten Tomatoes or whatever.
Right.
Some type of number rating system. But hers is just like, I'll just give 2 thumbs up. That's my rating system.
Yep.
And they take that as like the official word, which was
They're like,
strange.
you heard it here. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. Just like no credibility behind it to back that.
And also, couldn't people look into this and figure out that Fran works for Max and then write that this is just a conflict of interest anyway?
Yeah, this would get shut down real quick.
No one knows she works for him.
Yeah.
Max is so happy that he kisses Fran.
The tension, the drama, the excitement, the rush.
There's a man from the Ghostbusters movie, and he's exposing himself while fixing a fridge.
Dan Aykroyd working for Frostbusters.
Thank you so much for joining us for another fine episode of A Fine Podcast.
Yes, hope your refrigerators are working and that you enjoy a play that you might go to ever, or maybe you'll never go to one. But regardless, enjoy whatever you're doing.
And don't be a jerk.
Yes, be nice. Don't be Frankie Jr.
Or Frank Sr.
And watch those baguettes.
Bye.
See you next time.
Break bread with those you love.